Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be basically just checking in with the Kingdom of Arda mod. This is the Lord of the Rings modification for Mount & Blade to Bannerlord. Probably, I don't think it's too crazy to say the most anticipated mod that everybody is looking forward to. I know personally it's at the top of my list. I am eagerly awaiting more news, more content, and eventually that final playable build, which I'm just so excited. But basically in today's video we're going to dive through all the latest information we have. I'll also go ahead and make sure I link the channel of Macbeth of Gondor. He is one of the lead developers on the mod and he posts loads of videos. I'm going to kind of go over in a rough sentiment, basically a lot of stuff he's iterated as he's been giving us news, along with showing loads of images that they've recently posted over on their Discord. But I highly recommend you go over to his channel, subscribe, check out his content because he goes into way more detail. So this is more so just like a sprinkling on top of a cake, whereas he has the big fat juicy cake. And maybe if this video does well, I'll convince him, I'll blackmail him to come on and we'll maybe do a little bit of a Q&A where we can maybe talk about a few and answer a few of the questions that you guys have if he wanted to do something like that. So let's dive into the video. So what I'll be doing right now is posting on your screen a few of the images that they've recently been showing over on their Discord. Again, I'll link this down below in the description. We've been getting a nice little look at a lot of the Gondorians and the firsts of Gondor, and that kind of really brings me into the first point. So on launch we are going to have around about 6 playable factions: Harad, Gondor, Rohan, Isengard, and Dunland, and of course Mordor. Each of these factions are going to have many kind of sub-factions to them, and these are going to be the Firths minus Isengard, who are going to have their own kind of system, which we'll talk about in a second. So obviously all of these factions are planned to having a vast, wide variety of units and unit trees themselves. I believe Gondor, Harad, Mordor all plan on having at least 7 different Firths, and they didn't really explain massively what they mean by this, whether it's clans, whether it's separate factions within kind of the overarching empire of Gondor, for example, or if they are just like clans within the faction. I would imagine that would be kind of the case, that each faction will have the set amount of Firths depending on their size and their strength, and yeah, these will obviously just be clans if we kind of relate it back to Bannerlord ideas, which will be able to recruit their own units. And I would also imagine that each of these Firths will have their completely own unique unit tree that they'll be able to customize and create and bring to the field of battle when the banners are called. So yeah, every faction has roughly around about 6 to 7 Firths besides Rohan, Dunland, and Isengard. Isengard are not going to have Firths whatsoever because they are just, Isengard. They're going to have a system called legions, and each of the legions are going to be as unique as possible. So first off, I really like this setup. I love the idea of each factions having sub-factions within them. I think it's a really good way of approaching and just adding loads of diversity. At the end of the day, I don't really want Mordor just to have, this one roster. I want to be seeing, if I'm fighting alongside a lord or an orc war boss from the south of Mordor, I want to see different units than if I'm leading an army from the north, and so on and so on. I think it'll be a really kind of unique way. Same with Gondor. If I want to go and get the best axeman, I have to go travel to Loslaka, however you pronounce that. I want to travel to the regions where they have that, and I want to build up my army, and again in battle as well. I want to see the lords from these Firths actually represented by having unique armies and interesting stuff, rather than like the Imperial Gondorian troops of Minas Tirith. I don't want to see that across Gondor, and I'm sure that's kind of the idea they're going for. They also plan as well for Rohan to have their own unique martial system, so that kind of the main idea for Rohan is that they have 3 of these big bad boy armies, each led by one of the lords of Rohan, whether it's Theoden, Aemir, or Theodred. They'll be kind of moved around and kind of defending their borders from the enemy. So just overall, that's kind of like the first idea of the factions and kind of their playstyle within the mod. And also I believe they said as well in the video that Dunland are going to have 3 Firths, so obviously very much smaller faction, and they're all going to be kind of very like hostile towards each other, which again makes me wonder, are these going to be clans inside of a kingdom, or are they going to be their own separate kingdom? Is there going to be like rebellion spawning? We'll have to see. Stuff like that, I'm sure we'll find out much later on down the line. But overall, like, it just sounds so exciting. I love the way that they're approaching the different factions. Everyone seems like they're having some form of like a unique mechanic or an idea. And yeah, I really can't wait to see something like that going ahead and being portrayed. Okay, so the next thing we'll go ahead and dive into and talk about is the One Ring. Macbeth goes ahead and talks about this and basically puts it down as this is like an object the player can obtain. However, it isn't something the player can bring to bear against the foes of Middle-earth. It is going to be an icon. Basically, I would imagine something along like a quest item that you're going to be able to deliver to a certain person, that person being Sauron, or you could also go ahead and take it to Saruman as well. So that's kind of exciting that you can go ahead and choose between Sauron and Saruman, or you could maybe end up giving it to the forces of good and see if that has a knock-on effect. If Sauron does get it, he is going to become incredibly powerful. Sauron isn't actually a playable character or a visual character. Maybe he will be when he obtains the ring, but at the beginning of the game, he basically is just sitting in Barad-dûr, much like he does in the movie, hanging out and, using the Nazgul, using the mouth of Sauron to do his bidding across the forces of Middle-earth. So getting him the One Ring for the evil guys is going to be super important. That's also something that I should mention as well, that the teams are locked in. The forces of good are the forces of good, and the forces of evil are the forces of evil. There's going to be no kind of like certain factions turning to the dark side. Maybe there'll be mechanics later on, with Saruman corrupting Theoden, and maybe he could end up forcing Rohan to flip. Maybe that's something that could happen. They haven't mentioned anything like that. They've just stated that, you have the forces of good and you have the forces of evil, and they fight the greatest war Middle-earth has ever seen. I say that, the first age was pretty goddamn hectic. So that's really exciting as well, having kind of this story-driven campaign. It's a lot about what we're wanting to see, and you can kind of pick your sides, but, wherever you fight around Middle-earth, it's going to be different. If you have an entire campaign fighting for the good guys, and you fight in Gondor, that's going to be very different to, you all of a sudden you fighting in Rohan, because you're going to be fighting completely different foes. You're going to be up against Isengard and its legionary systems, which will be very exciting. They later go on to mention as well that they don't plan on releasing boats in the first version of the game. However, that could be something that they do in the future, and if they do that, they'll go ahead and add in more settlements on islands and kind of giving more outpost feels to them. They also plan on having plenty of unique settlements and provinces that you'll be able to visit. Stuff like Minister of Helm's Deep, Osgiliath, Corandros, stuff like that, is all planned for the first release of the mod. Of course, a overhaul mod would not be complete without all its own custom battlefields, so they've gone ahead and shown a bunch over on their Discord recently, been hard at work creating the battlefields of Middle-earth, which again, I think is so important. You don't want to be fighting in Calradia. When you're fighting in Middle-earth, you want to be fighting in Middle-earth. You want to be fighting in the battlefields that represent the battlefields. And also, I think, which is really exciting, with the most recent 1.5.7 update, and Tailworlds have brought in their own kind of campaign map terrain system. That's going to be amazing fighting in a mod like Kingdom of Arda, which is scheduled for ages away. It's still very much in development, so that I'm sure they'll have plenty of time to go ahead and create interesting maps for the campaign map for Kingdom of Arda with that. And it's only going to get better and better, I think. When I'm fighting just outside the Black Gate, it'd be really cool to see the Black Gate in the distance and actually having the feel, in the forests of, Ithilien and stuff like that, being able to have that extra stuff that really links the campaign map and the battlefield together, which the new Tailworld system does do. I think it'll be so awesome in the map of Middle-earth for Kingdom of Arda. They have also planned a lot of mythical creatures as well, such as trolls, wargs, giant beasts, olifants, and also ents in the first release, which is super exciting. That is a lot of crazy animals. They have also shown in another video as well a few of the Harad beasts as well. I think that's probably what's classed under Great Beast, but a few of the Games Workshop models they have gone ahead and shown, and they've tried to go ahead and replicate that. So that's very exciting. Hopefully we'll get several variants of all these different things. There's loads of ents, loads of different types, so hopefully we'll get an entire Entish army. Would be very exciting. But yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome. They have said that they don't want to do Fell Beast because they feel like it would take a lot of time to, to actually get a flying creature in, and the payoff just wouldn't be great. Like, you may be able to get, a perfectly animated Fell Beast in the game, but the AI would have no idea how to deal with it, would have no idea how to approach it, if they're playing with it, if they're playing, as the Nazgul. So they've decided to go ahead and just completely scratch something like that for now. Who knows, in the future they might revive it. Maybe Tail Worlds will add something like, kind of a more accessible thing when they add in maybe elephants in the future, which I think they've definitely hinted at something that they're working on. But yeah, no, really exciting. Having trolls, wargs, great beasts, Oliphants, Ents, all of that stuff, again, just adds to that fantasy element, which will be really exciting. They have also mentioned as well, going back to the faction thing as well, that they do plan on adding in Easterlings and also Elves of Lothlorien as well. However, them two factions are going to be very minor in the first release. That's going to be the main focus. They plan on maybe having a few like roaming parties that are just killing orcs, and vice versa for the Easterlings. They said that they really want just them to kind of maybe be in the Black Gate with like a leader and an army, but nothing that extreme, at least in the first release. Whilst on the topic of factions as well, they have also stated that they want to go ahead and allow players with major factions, which are going to be on your screen right now. The major factions, you're going to be able to basically serve this faction. You're going to be able to complete the main faction quest for said faction. So I would assume every single main faction will have their own unique quest. So for example, for Gondor, it's probably defeating Mordor. For Rohan, we're taking down Isengard and maybe freeing Theoden from his curse. Mordor obviously obtaining the One Ring. Each faction is going to kind of have their own motives, and yeah, you can go ahead and complete that. If you join that faction, you can become a lord for that, and you can also take over the faction as well of all major factions. So again, if you're playing as Mordor, maybe there is a way to dethrone the Sauron and actually take the One Ring for yourself in their quest line, even though they have stated that isn't something that they really plan on doing, allowing the player to obtain the One Ring. But who knows, maybe doing that. They did state that they really want to focus on making it as lore friendly as possible, so we'll have to see how they go about that, but that is something that they do plan on doing. Then for the minor factions, such as a lot of like the roaming orc bands and other units like that, these are not going to be factions that you can serve, so I would more probably equate these to more like mercenary-esque factions, and they're not going to have their own unique faction quests. However, you can aid them indirectly, so if you really want maybe the Orcs of Gundabad to prevail, you can basically fight all of their enemies and watch them grow big, but you can't really join them and actively do it. You can only really kind of help them from the shadows, which again is a really interesting mechanic. And of course, finally, they do plan on having a complete score of their own music in the mod, with custom sounds for like the Nazgul and the infantry, and obviously the baseline music for battles and the campaign, and also the main menus. That's going to be hopefully bringing the world of Middle-earth to you, but just by hearing the iconic sounds should hopefully be very exciting. That is basically every kind of bit of rundown. You guys would have saw all the new screenshots they've recently posted on their Discord, which obviously you should be a part of if you want to keep up to date with this stuff. Obviously, I would have also shown lots of stuff from Macbeth's channel. I got a lot of my information from his videos, along with their ModDB and also their Discord. So yeah, just go check out all three. I highly recommend Macbeth. They also did mention about adding a trailer to kind of show their progress soon, which will be very exciting if that does drop before the end of the year. I imagine it might do so. Dropping kind of a year roundup is always quite a nice thing to do. However, it might take a little bit longer than that. But yeah, overall, when we do get that trailer, I'll be sure to let you guys know over on my Discord. I'll link to it so you guys can check it out. But yeah, go check out Macbeth. He has loads of videos detailing a lot of the factions. Check out their Discord. That's kind of where you get all the information from whenever something new drops, so go ahead and add everybody there. And of course, check out their ModDB as well. If you guys want to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, I'll be sure to let you guys know when any new content does drop for the mod, so you kind of see me as the beacons of Minas Tirith, the beacons of Gondor, and I will let you guys know as soon as any more information drops for Kingdom of Arda. Definitely one of my most anticipated mods, and I'll see you guys in the next one.